Hi, good afternoon, Tom. Good afternoon, Gaurav. Thank you for joining us today. So we are looking forward to having a good chat today about Australian RegTech and exploring sort of the world of what's been going on. And how are you both today?
Very well, thank you, Brian.
Really
Very well.
thanks.
Perfect. And as sort of a brief introduction to anyone watching, we are joined today by Gaurav Johri, who is a senior advisor for trade and investment within Austrade, and also Tom Merriman, who's the head of global partnerships at Gungho Marketing. So if you're not aware, Gungho is a member of the RTA and Austrade who work closely with us and are members to accelerate the adoption of RegTech. So you guys are coming together today kindly to talk about the opportunities of RegTech and how it's ensuring trust and transparency for us all. And given our position of third in the world of the RegTech Hub and the FTA, it makes sense to have this conversation with you. So if we can kick things off, maybe with Gaurav, could you introduce Austrade and what your role is within the RegTech market?
Sure. Thanks, Bryony. So
All right.
Austrade is the Australian Trade and Investment Commission. We are the trade and investment arm of the Australian government. Our role is twofold. One, we support Australian exporters access international markets, and two, we support international companies that are looking to come into Australia and set up. And for us, RegTech is a priority sector of focus. We think it represents a big opportunity for Australia, and that's why we're proud to work with the RegTech Association and support RegTech companies.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you for your introduction there. And can I open this one up to both of you and see if you have any advice for RegTechs who are trying to enter into the market, especially when it comes to relationship building and meeting the right people, because I know it can be difficult and you both have sort of the expertise to share here with us.
Thanks, Bryony. I might go first. So I think from our side at Austrade, a couple of things that I think should be front of mind for RegTechs who are looking to enter the UK. I think firstly, companies should be very clear about the sort of niche that they're looking to target when they're entering the UK. I think compared to Australia, the UK market is probably a little bit more mature and there's a lot more competition. And so, we think companies really need to zone in on on the problem that they're looking to solve, and also the niche that they're looking to target when they arrive in the market. I think companies also need to consider that what has been successful for them in Australia may not always be the right pathway for success in the UK. So there are times where you may need to consider tweaking your offering or kind of the part of your solution that you emphasize to be successful in the UK market. So I think, those are the first couple of things that come to mind for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for those who don't know, Gungho is a lead generation specialist within the RegTech market. We are a UK-based business, but we operate globally. So the UK being our backyard, I suppose, it's where we've done quite a lot of our work. So our, I suppose, recommendations to an Australian business looking to start in the UK would certainly be to make sure that you've got a strategy in place, so you know who you want to go after, job title wise, sorry, industry wise, size of businesses, those sorts of things that perhaps you've had previous experience with in Australia, or wherever it is that you've started. So having a clear strategy on that side of things always helps. And then after that, it's about making sure you've got a smooth, I suppose, transition. So whether you're starting with a team in the UK or whether you're starting by generating business first and then the UK and then getting a team, it's important that you've got a smooth transition. So what I mean by that is making sure that any leads generated and things like that are serviceable despite, I suppose, time zone differences.
Absolutely. Well, amazing insights from both of you there. And I think it's definitely going to be helpful to any RegTech trying to enter into the market. and it's very useful information that people are looking for. So moving on to the next question, I think I'll send this one your way, Gaurav. So if we take a look at the bigger picture, can I ask you how much growth you see for specifically the Australian RegTech industry as a whole, really, and where you would say the key areas of expansion are, and any growing trends that could be opportunities within the UK market in particular?
So I think very much I see the Australian RegTech sector just at the beginning of its journey. I do see a lot of scope for growth into the future. I think the level of RegTech adoption is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. I expect more companies to continue to adopt RegTech and also see new segments as well adopt RegTech. So I think in terms of, areas of the market where you see opportunities for growth, I think historically a lot of RegTech adoption has been in the financial sector, and particularly in a few key areas. So I think we've seen a lot of adoption in terms of financial crime and also ID, so KYC, AML, CTF reporting, etc., as well as general compliance. I expect to see RegTech expand beyond those areas. So, for instance, I'm typically based in Sydney and I'm currently in London. And what I've really picked up here in the UK is that there are some areas that are very front of mind for risk officers here in the UK that are quite different to Australia. So, for example, ESG reporting and governance, I think in the UK is far ahead of what we've seen in Australia. So I do think ESG is an area of huge potential growth opportunity. I also think government as a buyer and user of RegTech is a huge area of growth, and I think that applies both to the UK and Australia. I don't think we've seen government bodies utilise RegTech to the degree that they possibly can into the future, but I do think that is something that's definitely coming down the pipeline. In terms of how the UK is different to Australia, I think I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I just think the market is a little bit more mature and it can be harder to stand out in the market. And so I think it's really important for companies to be, really work on what their offering is in the product market fit here in the UK. And, you may have to tweak your message and may have to tweak the person that you target within the target customers that you have.
And I think if I just pick up where Gaurav's just left off there with the, I suppose, maturity of the UK market, the three big, I suppose, RegTech markets in the world, obviously the US is the biggest, the UK is the second, and then followed by you guys in Australia as the third. It has been around a long time, the UK market, but there is so much opportunity here. I think once you are used to I suppose the mature nature that Gaurav was talking about, and the fact that when you're approaching a business, it's highly likely they've got some sort of RegTech in place at the moment already. Once you're used to that as a sales cycle and allow for that, so you allow the extra time and all the rest of it, there is lots and lots of opportunity here, just purely because of the scale of the business or the businesses that are here. Typically, I mean, we can sort of run reports on our data and where the appointments were most set. So I had a quick look before this call for 2021, and our top 5 job titles that we booked appointments into were heads of compliance, MLROs, compliance managers, compliance officers, and financial crime managers. That's just specific to the UK and just specific to 2021. Like Gaurav said, though, we are seeing a lot of ESG type job titles as well. Heads of governance, heads of legal, those sorts of things are really exploding at the moment. In terms of a split between industries, we're sort of looking at a pretty even split, to be honest, between corporates and financials as to what's available. So I think for RegTechs out there that are applicable to either one or the other or both, there is plenty of opportunity here.
Okay, thank you both. It's definitely very interesting to hear about what the differences are, and thank you for the insight into Gungho's database. Definitely crucial information to learn and understand. But I think looking on the flip side, it would be good to understand what are some of the similarities and the links between the UK and Australian market.
So I think one of the benefits between the two countries is that there is a strong foundation of links that are already there. So some of that is in a formal sense. So we're lucky to have a fintech bridge between Australia and the UK, which has been operating since 2018. And that has quite a few elements. So on one level, there's a lot of regulator to regulator dialogue. So I know the FCA and ASIC have regular dialogue between themselves, and specifically they do touch on the topic of RegTech and its application. There's also other engagements between governments. So Austrade, we're in regular dialogue with our colleagues in the UK. RegTech is a priority sector of focus for both sides. And then also there's just general flows of people and companies. So there's lots of UK and Irish RegTechs that have entered into Australia or are looking at Australia as a market to operate in. And likewise, the UK is one of the top markets for Australian RegTech companies to look to enter into as well. I think above and beyond that as well, there's the strong people-to-people links. So I think you'll find many Australian RegTech companies and founders are people who have worked previously in the UK, and equally that applies in the other way as well. So there's good knowledge of each other's markets and some of the behaviours and some of the challenges as well that are out there in terms of managing and complying with different sets of regulation.
Okay, that's great. Sorry, Tom, did you have anything else to mention on that point?
Well, yeah, no, just to add to that, I suppose, as a company who sort of specialise in RegTechs, we work with a huge range of different technologies and different vendors, and exactly what Gaurav says. We work with a lot of Australian businesses coming over to the UK and a lot of UK businesses going to Australia. So that flow is absolutely there. It's open, and good to see that's a strong link.
Okay, perfect. And opening up a little bit further, how would you say Australian RegTech technology and innovation shapes up not only to the UK, but the rest of the world as well?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So I think from our perspective at Austrade, obviously the UK is a priority market of focus for us, but also we've supported Australian RegTechs in programs in other regions of the world as well. So in Asia and the Middle East. And I think one common thread in all of those regions is that Australian RegTech companies and the RegTech sector in Australia is very well regarded and very well respected. And in a lot of cases, they actually look to Australia as a bit of an exemplar of where RegTech is seeing a lot of innovation and also a lot of adoption. And so I think that's something that holds across many regions. And so if you, do come into a market as an Australian RegTech company, I think you already have, a little bit of a reputation as, okay, I'm positively disposed towards this solution. It's really about, can the solution help my business? So I do think, Australian RegTech is well respected, well regarded, and I do think that will lead to continuing opportunities throughout the world in the coming period.
Absolutely. I think just on that, touch on that word that Gaurav used there, innovation. I think there's lots of regulated businesses in the UK that absolutely have a system in place just because of the age of the market we've been through, etc. But the technology coming out of Australia is cutting edge, is different, is new. It's been founded in a different environment to the UK, slightly different market, etc. And I think that actually is a strength that plays into Australian RegTech hands when they look to come over, because it will be fresh.
Perfect. Thank you both. And it's great to hear about that innovation and how things are sort of moving forward for all countries. Hopefully we can all work together to make sure everything's as good as possible there. And I'd say on that point, Tom, I'll probably send this one your way. Do you have any specific case studies or successes that you can discuss with us?
Yeah, absolutely. We've worked with quite a few Australian businesses coming across. One of them is a fellow RegTech Association member. I'm sure some of you have come across Arctic Intelligence. Typically, what we can offer is, either if you've got a sales team in place, that's brilliant. We can start feeding them appointments to get them up and running, and you can work with us through the data to have a look at where to go. But really, where we can have an impact, I suppose, is just to help come in the early stages get over that time zone challenge, because I know if businesses in Australia can find it very hard to penetrate Europe and sometimes the US as well, just on the time zone. So what we did for Arctic Intelligence was they had quite a few late nights at the start, but we started booking them appointments while they were still in Australia for really well qualified leads in the UK market. Those appointments were passed back overseas to Australia. They held those appointments and managed to turn it into revenue, which was fantastic. That has allowed them to employ a head of sales in EMEA, who we now continue to feed appointments for. So that's sort of, I suppose, one case study, one way we can do it. The other thing we can do is you can subscribe to our data set. So if you just want to get that brand awareness piece out there before you necessarily, just to test the water, we can do A/B testing and things like that. So you can start to see who's reacting, what sort of job titles, what sort of industries, etc., before you financially overcommit yourself. And the third thing we could do as well is give you a walkthrough of the data set. So, by no means are we saying it's the complete data set of everybody, but we've got 270,000 job titles worldwide of sort of very risk and compliance focused. And what we can do is we can walk you through that in the UK or any other country. We can walk you through the industries, the sizes of business, the job titles that are physically there, those sorts of things, just to, I suppose, aid you with with your thought process when you're deciding, okay, from Australia, where do I want to expand, or the other way around, whatever it is. We can talk you through what actually might be out there and what might be relevant to you ahead of you, again, having to commit yourself to financial burdens.
Perfect. Thank you. That's a great case study, and it definitely highlights how the Australian RegTech and UK can work together. And I think both of you have put forward some really interesting insights. There's definitely a lot more to learn on this, but hopefully this has been of interest to anyone that is watching. And if there is any interest in learning more, you can join the Accelerate RegTech 2022 conference, of which both Gungho and Austrade are sponsors. But thank you both, Tom and Gaurav, for your time and all of your inputs. It's been really lovely speaking with you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bryony, and thank you, Gaurav, for hosting us in Australia House. It's lovely to come into the embassy and see you, and hope we can do it soon.
Yeah, thank you both. A real pleasure to speak with you, and we're very proud to support the RegTech Association, and looking forward to Accelerate RegTech 2022.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both, and we'll speak to you later. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.